If you've ever tried to create a budget and thought to yourself, this just doesn't work for our life, you're not alone. A lot of hardworking families sit down with best intentions. They open up a budgeting app. How many people have done that? They create categories, they start tracking every expense, and for a week or two, it feels promising. But when life gets busy, work deadlines start to pop up. Kids have activities, groceries need to be picked up, something unexpected happens, and before long, the budget starts to feel very overwhelming instead of helpful. Eventually, the spreadsheet gets closed, the app stops getting updated, and many families quietly conclude something like this. Maybe we're not good at budgeting, but today I want to offer a different perspective because the problem might not be you. The problem might actually be the system. And once you understand this, budgeting begins to make a lot more sense to you. And that's where things start to get really interesting. Many traditional budgeting systems were designed for a very different lifestyle than what most families experience today. Think about the pace of life for many households right now. Both parents, majority of parents are working, right? Both parents are working in the household. There's meetings, there's deadlines, you have school schedules and activities, you have household responsibilities. There's a lot happening right now. And in the middle of all that, budgeting systems often ask families to track every dollar constantly. So as you're going about your day to day, you're having to pull out this budget app and go through and see where you are financially in every purchase, every category, every adjustment. Now, this is the part that most families don't realize. The system itself may simply be too complicated for real life. And when something becomes too complicated, even responsible people eventually stop doing it, not because they don't care. It's because it requires more time and energy than they realistically have. So today I want to walk through why budgeting often feels frustrating for busy families and what many households actually need instead. So let's talk about what's really happening behind the scenes. Most budgeting advice focuses on control. Control every dollar, track every purchase, adjust every category. But for many families, this approach eventually leads to something called budgeting fatigue. Budgeting fatigue happens when the system requires that constant attention. And the reality is most busy households simply don't have the time to constantly monitor their spending in that level of detail. Now, this next part is where things really start to click for most families. The real purpose of budgeting was never meant to be constant tracking. The real purpose was clarity. Clarity about where money is going. Clarity about priorities, and clarity about whether that income supports the lifestyle that I'm living in. But when budgeting becomes too complicated, that clarity actually disappears. Instead of feeling empowered by the system, families begin feeling restricted by it. And that's when budgeting begins to feel stressful rather than helpful. Let me give you a simple example. A family sits down at the beginning of the month and creates a detailed budget, line by line, right? Groceries are assigned a specific amount. You have your dining out, it gets a category. Your entertainment gets a category. Everything looks perfect on paper, but then life happens. Maybe the kids need something unexpected for a school project. Maybe the grocery bill is higher than expected this month. Maybe a birthday invitation pops up, right? Suddenly the numbers don't match the plan anymore. And now the family has to go back into a system and start adjusting everything again. You have to start all over. Now imagine doing this every single week. Eventually, that just starts to become exhausting. It's just too much time. And when something feels exhausting, most people stop doing it. So after a while, you do it, you commit to it, you're like, I'm going to do this. And then eventually, if things in life happens, which it does, that's just reality, then you start to lose focus and eventually it just goes away and you stop doing it and you go back to your old habit. And once you see this, it changes how you look at budgeting completely. Because the issue isn't discipline, right? Because everyone feels exhausted and they stop doing it. The issue is the design. Many systems simply weren't designed for the pace of modern family life. Let me ask you a simple question, and I want you to think about this. Have you ever tried budgeting with great intentions, only to feel frustrated a few weeks later? If so, that experience is incredibly common. And it doesn't mean you're bad with money. It simply means the system might not be working for you. And this is something I see happen all the time with families I talk to. They care deeply about managing their finances well. They just haven't seen or been shown a system that actually fits their life. So there's a verse in 1 Corinthians 14:33 that says, "For God is not a God of confusion, but of peace." And I love applying this principle to finances because our financial system should bring that clarity and peace into our homes, not confusion, not constant stress, not overwhelming with complexity. Stewardship should feel thoughtful and intentional. And it should also bring a sense of calm over you. Shouldn't be something that is always just running your life. You shouldn't be able to have this, it shouldn't have a hold on you and what you should be doing. And when families simply, simplify their financial systems, something beautiful starts to happen, and it's so exciting. Money becomes easier to manage. Your decisions become clearer, and you have, an array of decisions and places and things that you can do. And then you have peace. Peace begins to replace that pressure that you've always felt when you've had to think about money coming in. As soon as your check comes in, I know a lot of you feel this sometimes. Your check comes in, eventually you have to pay everything, or you may be behind on things, and it just goes away, it disappears, and you're left with nothing. This starts to bring peace when you have that stewardship. If you're realizing that what your finances might really need isn't a stricter budget, but a simple structure, I actually walked through a framework with helping families organize their income in a free training. And if you like to watch that after this video, just to get a little bit more detail into what I'm talking about, you can find that link in the description below. Now let's keep going because there's another important piece to this conversation. Once families simplify their financial structure, budgeting becomes much easier, not because they're tracking every detail, but because the system isn't doing most of the work. Think of it this way. Instead of constantly managing money, the goal is to organize it in a way that naturally supports your priorities, right? And once that happens, finances begin to feel lighter, more predictable, more peaceful. And this is often the moment where families realize something very important. They don't actually need more complicated budgeting systems. They simply need a clearer financial structure. And once families see this, they experience a huge sense of relief because they realize the problem wasn't their discipline. It wasn't their income. It wasn't their desire to manage money well. They simply haven't had or been given a system that worked with their life instead of against it. And once that shift happens, managing money becomes so much more peaceful. It's a relief. You have that peace over your life. So here's a simple step for you that you can take this week. Instead of trying to perfect your budget, simply start by observing it. Take a look at where your money has been going over the past month, just the last month, nothing more. Not with judgment, just with awareness, because awareness is often the first step toward clarity. Before you go, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever tried budgeting and felt frustrated with it? Write yes in the comments if that's been your experience. And if you're currently using a system that actually works well for your family, share that too. Your comment might help another family who's trying to figure this thing out. And if you enjoy conversations like this about simplifying finances and creating more peace in your household, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And if you know another family who might benefit from this conversation, feel free to share this video with them as well. Because sometimes the right insight at the right moment can change everything. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.